In 2094, the Earth is no longer the place that used to be called the Green Planet. From space, it appears as a severely burned body, scar-long black forest trails on the South American continent, the dirty gray spots of the ocean covered with plastic and waste oil, and the atmosphere, a layer of toxic mist, always in a disorderly state. Human civilization has entered the post-progress era, an era where everything seems to have reached its peak. Quantum technology, high-level self-study AI, gene-correcting medicine, and floating cities in the sea. But the price is the rift between humans and the planet they live on. In the Andes, at an altitude of more than 5,000 meters, a climate research station called Eidolon is still quietly operating. This station is operated by a group of independent scientists who are considered infidels by mainstream academics. But they were also the first to discover a mysterious signal, something that forever changed the way humanity looked at the Earth. Initially, it was just a strange sequence of electromagnetic oscillations, not in any known wave spectrum. It is not a seismic wave, not a signal from a satellite, and even not a turbulence caused by electromagnetic activity from the sun. The scary thing is that its frequency repeats in cycles, like a beat or breath. Dr. Ramu, a geophysicist at Eidolon, was the first person to realize the abnormality. "I used to study tremors from the planet's core," he said when checking the data, "but this thing is unlike anything. It has a shape similar to alpha waves, the kind that humans emit when meditating. But how can the Earth meditate?" While the team was still arguing, similar signals were unexpectedly recorded at various monitoring stations around the world: observatory in South Africa, Chinese meteorological satellites, and even sensors under the Pacific Ocean Telecommunications Union. All are consensual. The Earth is emitting structured, rhythmic waves, like a giant brain. The news was leaked after only a few days. Netizens mocked, "The planet must be under stress." The press called this AI version of the Gaia hypothesis. But one person did not smile, but immediately began to pack his luggage: Dr. Lyra Voss. She used to be a professor at MIT, but resigned after a controversial article titled, "The Earth is a Cognitive Entity. We live in the body of a creature." The article caused Lyra to be called a paranoid, conspiracy theorist, and ostracized from the mainstream scientific community. But now, what the whole world used to laugh at is appearing. When Lyra arrived at Eidolon, she was almost dumbfounded when she saw the signal with her own eyes. The wave range is long, but regular, like a heartbeat. And its frequency, 7.83 Hz, is the Schumann frequency, once considered the foundational breathing rate of the Earth. But this time, it is not just oscillating from lightning or ion. It reacts to the environment. Every time deforestation occurs, the signal weakens. When there is heavy rain, the forest regenerates, strong waves come back. A humanitarian relief team supplies food, increased amplitude. A new weapon test site activated, the margin decreased sharply. The Earth seems to sense what is happening on its surface. "We were wrong," Lyra whispered while looking at the screen. "Earth is not a place to live. It is a nervous system, a consciousness. A living body is suffering." A cold question appeared in her mind. If the Earth can feel, can it be angry? In the closed room at the Eidolon research station, the dim light shines on the series of signals flickering like breathing. Lyra sat motionless in front of the screen, her hands on the console, her eyes watching each oscillation as if looking into the soul of a giant creature. She knows this is no longer seismology. This is biology. But no, it's more than that. This is consciousness. As a PhD student, Lyra was fascinated by the Gaia theory, a theory born in the 20th century by James Lovelock, who believed that the Earth is a self-regulating system, like a living organism. But what Lovelock does not dare to confirm is that the Earth can know it exists. Lyra dares. For 20 years, she pursued a bold assumption: if life on this planet can develop into humans, creatures with individual consciousness, then why can't the overall ecosystem itself evolve into a collective consciousness? A form of supermind that covers everything? And now every signal leads to one thing. The planet is starting to communicate. Ramu, the oldest physicist at Eidolon Station, said in the meeting. I tried to broadcast the opposite Schumann frequency with synchronous waves, like biofeedback. The result? The signal amplitude of the planet increases slightly. It can't be accidental. That is. Gaia heard them. Lyra held her hand. She knew this moment had come. If the Earth is really conscious, she must be the first person to establish a connection. Not only by mechanical waves, but by ideas. A new technology system is launched, code-named NeuroSync. That is the work that Lyra co-developed, helping to synchronize brainwaves between people, used in mental medicine and AI therapy. But now she wants to connect not with an individual, but with a planet. Are you really going to do it? Young engineer Ethan asked. We have never used it with any creature other than humans. This is not outside. Lyra smiled slightly. This is the mother of all of us. The connection session took place at 2:04 a.m., the time when the Schumann wave reached the most stable level of the day. Lyra sits on a conscious air conditioning chair. The EEG sensor covers her head. Her hands are on the emotional contact table. Ramu starts the system. Eidolon Station is so quiet that you can clearly hear the sound of melting ice dripping off the cliff. When the first brain impulse was transmitted out into the low-frequency universe, everyone held their breath. And then, the screen jumps to an unknown response sequence. The wave rate increases. The oscillation frequency is up to 8.21 Hz. Never seen before. Lyra closed her eyes. That moment, she was no longer herself. She saw a huge stream of blood flowing in the middle of the planet. It was lava. She saw nerve branches like tree roots deep into the surface of Gaia's skin. It was the jungle. Then, that voice sounded. Not through the ear, but from the inside of the mind. Do you miss me? Lyra panicked. She thought she was hallucinating. But the EEG wave is still stable. It's all really happening. You forgot the original promise. She choked. Gaia, remember. The scene in Lyra's mind became clearer. Like a film going back in time, she saw ancient tribes dancing around fire, offering offerings to mountains and streams. They talked to the forest. They heard the sound of rain. They know when the snake is about to crawl out of the cave, or when the eagle flies low to signal the coming storm. That was the time when humans were still in the mother's womb. But then, civilization began to rise. The murmur of the prairie gave way to the sound of chainsaws. The river is blocked. The mountain was drilled. The ground, full of crude oil blood. You take everything, but never returned. Gaia's voice is not angry. It's painful. Like a mother who was betrayed by her own biological child. Lyra burst into tears. We don't know. We thought you were silent. I'm not shout. It's just that you don't know how to listen anymore. Immediately after the connection session, the global climate began to fluctuate unusually. A huge storm swept across the Pacific Ocean, but completely avoided unconcreted islands, only devastating oil drilling centers in the middle of the sea. In Canada, millions of salmon returned to the Fraser River, where they were once extinct. Meanwhile, the satellite system recorded a series of landslides, coinciding with the largest mineral mines. Gaia is choosing. Don't destroy everything, but selective retaliation. She is smart, Ramu sighed. Or have an immune system. Lyra whispered. No. Gaia does not destroy. I never killed you. But I can cut off the rebellious children. After the first connection, Lyra is like a person who came out of a dream that lasted for millennia. She couldn't forget Gaia's voice, not exactly a human voice, but a harmony of the sound of the forest wind, the sound of sea waves, and the sound of vibration from the ground. Each of its beats carries an unnameable emotion, tragic, affectionate, melancholy, and overwhelmingly distant. But it was that dream that changed everything. News about conscious connection with the Earth leaked out after only 3 days. Initially, the press called it a technological spiritualization experiment, but after Lyra's EEG wave and feedback from Gaia were announced, the world scientific community was completely divided. Half called her a dangerous dreamer. The other half began to be afraid. Governments get involved. The U.S. Department of Defense requested the closure of Eidolon on the grounds of biospheric security risk. China suspected that this was a fake behavior to hide a planetary-scale biological weapon. The United Nations held an emergency session. In their eyes, Lyra is no longer a scientist. She is the one who awakens a great creature that humanity should never awaken. While the world is confused, Lyra feels clearer. Gaia is not a stupid or passive creature. It is a system that knows how to select, distinguish, feel pain, and analyze behavior. Like a body, when a virus invades, the immune system reacts. And humans, in Gaia's eyes, are the uncontrolled virus. She decided, if she just stopped listening to Gaia, it would be too late. Humans need to talk again, as their ancestors used to do, by emotions, by actions, by signals of life. And there is only one way to do that: connect hundreds of human consciousness at the same time, transmit directly to the planet's biological waves. Neurosync must be upgraded, Lyra told Ethan. We need a multi-point synchronous network. Not only me, but a whole emotional community. A few weeks later, in the silence of snow falling in the middle of the Andes Mountains, a system was installed. Code name: Neuronet. It is a global brainwave network consisting of 108 volunteers from different countries, different cultures, different religions, but all have the same desire: to be connected to Mother Earth. Among them are: an 11-year-old Kenyan girl has never left the village, but waters the plants and sings to them every day. A Tibetan monk who lived in the monastery for 40 years, who said that the forest also has Buddha nature. A Japanese engineer who almost committed suicide after hearing the sound of water flowing in the forest, came back to find a reason to live. They are not scientists, but they felt Gaia with their hearts. August 14, 2094. For the first time in history, a multi-point consciousness signal is synchronized and broadcast through the planet's biological frequency core. No more words. No text. Just love, sadness, feeling of remorse, memories of fresh mornings, the laughter of children under the shade of trees. Each person transmits a part of their memory into the Schumann wave, like tiny heartbeats beating on Gaia's palm. The screen in the Eidolon station jumped up. Gaia frequency reaches 9.2 Hz, an unprecedented high. And then, the whole system turned off. A voice appeared, this time not scattered, but echoed in the heads of all 108 people. You. No, I'm still here. What do you want? Lyra cried. She stood up. Even though the connection was disconnected, we want to be forgiven. Want to stay. Want to do it all over again. Immediately after the signal transmission, strange things happened around the globe. The Sahara Desert has continuous showers for 5 days. Trees begin to grow back in places that seem to be dead. The dead coral reef in the Pacific Ocean glows again, although it was previously confirmed to be permanently white. But on the contrary, industrial port cities such as Houston, Dubai, Shanghai continuously experience extreme sea level rise, only those with emissions exceeding the red threshold. International geological scientists are afraid. They came up with a new phrase, Gaia's survival classification wheel. The planet is not indiscriminately genocide, it is selective according to the principle, whoever causes harm is eliminated. Who lives in harmony is retained. The global government reacted strongly. The UN issued a resolution stopping all neuronet activities because it was considered to disturb the natural balance. The US threatens to use satellites to destroy Eidolon if it does not disconnect within 48 hours. Lyra must make a choice, accept silence to live, or continue to speak for the voice of humanity, even if it may be the last time. She looked at the black screen. I didn't wake up Gaia, she told the whole station. I just made her remember that I used to have children. On the 4th day after Neuronet connected to Gaia, Lyra woke up in the Eidolon station, her pillow still wet with tears. Last night's dream was unlike any neurological illusion she had ever known. She found herself standing on a dead beach. There is no wave. There is no bird's voice. The sun is far away, dim like a light bulb that is almost burning. Earth, a silent, cold, lifeless mass, and Gaia, not angry, not rebuking, just sitting there. A giant human figure with roots and ashes silently turned his back, not looking back. Lyra understands. Judgment is beginning. But not as people think. In Europe, crops stop ripening simultaneously. The barley plant grows, but does not bloom. The vineyard bears fruit, but does not ferment. Ethiopian coffee is more bitter than usual. Chinese medicinal herbs lose their smell. No one can explain. The soil is still fertile. It still rains. But life loses its soul. Biologists call it the phenomenon of ecological solace, when the ecosystem is still mechanically active, but does not produce full life. A kind of punishment. By withdrawing the soul, in Tokyo, millions of traffic light sensors operate intermittently. The LED light dims even though the power supply is full. The advertising screen blurs the image. The human eye sensor gradually loses its light perception. In New York, people began to complain. The daytime sun looks like fluorescent lights, shining but not warm. Heating still works, but not enough to live. No one died. But everything gradually loses emotion. Lyra sat alone in the glass room of the Eidolon station, writing a diary. Gaia didn't kill me. He retracts the things we once thought were obvious. The appetite, the warm sound, the color of the sunset. When Mother is silent, the world does not collapse. It is just no longer worth living. The real crisis does not start from nature, but from children. In Sweden, the sleep research team found, for one consecutive week, 0% of children aged 6 to 10 recorded night dreams. Globally, children are starting to be quieter. Less imagination. No more virtual friends. Don't ask why. Don't cry. Don't laugh. Artificial intelligence analyzes young behavior, predicts. If the situation lasts for 3 months, the creativity level of an entire generation will decrease by 83%. When humans no longer have the ability to dream, they have no future. Despite the ban, Lyra secretly re-established the Neuronet bridge for the last time. This time, she did not use emotional signals. She just sent a question to the system. What do you want? There is no wave. There is no response frequency. It's just the blue light of the screen fades. And then a sound sounded. Light. Very light. Like the sound of a heart beating in a faraway place. 3 beats. Stop. 1 more beat. Stop. After that, the entire Neuronet system burned the circuit. The division of humanity. The global response is divided into 2 factions. 1. Opposition. Believes that Gaia is a foreign entity that needs to be destroyed. The US, Russia, and the African Union announced their readiness to use space EMP, triggering the Root Burning Project, a telecommunications wave system that disrupts the planet's biological field. 2. Jiao Hoa faction, including young scientists, ancient religions, and green living communities. They believe that Gaia just wants humans to learn how to come back to life like children, simple, respectful, and listening. The war does not take place by bombs, but by faith. On the 13th night after the global connection event, the Eidolon station camera recorded the last image of Lyra. She walked out in the snow, walking barefoot, wearing a thin cloth robe, holding a small glowing sprout. No one knows where she went. Only the next morning, Schumann's frequency suddenly came back, low, thin but real. The Earth is breathing again. And then, the Space Telescope system began to acquire a new frequency, not from Earth, but from the planet Gliese 581c, 41 light-years away from Earth. Schumann wave. But reverse. Not as gentle as Gaia. But it is extremely regular, rushing, like a battle drum. Physicists call it the planetary ego signal. No one is sure. It's another Gaia, or Gaia's enemy. If your planet had a soul and began to withdraw everything that was given to you, what would you do? If you had a chance to talk to the Earth one last time, would you ask for forgiveness or leave in silence? And if there is another planet out there that can also speak, but it is not as gentle as Gaia, are you willing to talk?